Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to WDTT, Web Dev Tips and Tricks. This is where I share quick and easy tips to make your front-end development life smoother. No long tutorials, just straight to the point tricks you can start using right away. If that sounds good, stick around and let's level up together. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on notifications. For today's trick, I will be showing you how to apply glow effects to elements. So this is going to be the final result of what we'll be having. Glow effects. Alright, so let's jump to the codes. Okay, so yeah, we just have the basic HTML boilerplate here, and then we have this button, two buttons. This button here is for this glow. This other button here contains a font awesome icon and an empty div container. Okay, this script is a script that loads the font awesome icon, so we're not doing anything with JavaScript, just HTML and CSS. All right, for the styling, we have these default styles, so box sizing, margin padding and all that. For the root, I prefer setting my font size to 10 pixels because it's easier for me to calculate my rems when the font size is 10 pixels. Okay, then the body has a black background because glow effects show better in darker backgrounds, and this is a flex direction is column and all that. And this button has some basic styles, just remove the outline, the border and yeah, just basic style. Then we added this transition to give it an animation kind of feel. And here are the classes we'll be working with. So this BTN class is for the glow, the BTN icon class is for this bob, and container is for container. Okay, so now when it comes to the glow effects, there are two ways I want to show you how these can be done. So the first way is using filter property with a drop shadow value. Okay, so let's not talk much, let's just go into it. Now the drop shadow is a filter property, a filter value, sorry, that takes 4 variables, 2 composite variables and 2 optional variables. So the first one, these two are the composite variables. This is the x, or the deviation from the left. This is the y value, which is the deviation from the top. Okay, and so we've set it to 10 pixels, 10 pixels. Let's save this and we'll see how this is going to look like. Now, drop shadow just basically, drop shadow acts on the content of the element. Okay, so it gives it a shadow of what the content is. Now let's add the other variables so you see how this looks like. The next variable we'll be adding will be the color. So if you don't give it a color, it will use the color that is the default color of the content. So but once you set the color, it is the color you set. And then the next variable is the blur. Now once you set in the blur variable, the shadow then has this blurry effect. So the more the value, the more the blur is you get. So don't make it too large, of course. If not, it will just disappear, as you can see. All right, so how do we do this drop shadow, do this glow effect thing? So let's change this color to the color that we have, or since we can just leave it empty, since we'll be using the same color. Yeah, it still works. So but what we have to do is that we have to first and foremost set the drop shadow for x and y to 0, and the reason for this is so that the shadow doesn't deviate, it stays at the exact point where the element content is, you understand? So then we'll copy, let's copy this and then we'll duplicate it. Let's duplicate it, let's say 4 times. So basically what we are doing is we are layering the shadows on top of each other, okay? What differentiates them is the various blur values that we'll give them, okay? So 10 pixels, let's give this 20 pixels. Let's just space them 10 pixels apart. Okay, now you can see that that element has glow. It's glowing. So let's make this have a bit of animation. And now when you hover, you see it glows. All right. So now the same thing we will do if we want to make these icon glow. We'll use the same thing. So let's just copy this and paste it so that we don't have to repeat ourselves. And all we'll just do is we change the color, or okay, yeah, no need to change the color. Like I told you, when you don't put in the color value here, it takes in the default color. So no need to change the color. So yeah, see, it's very bright. Good. Now for this container, we can also use drop shadow for this container. Now drop shadow, like I told you, drop shadow acts on the content. But if there is no content, the drop shadow will still act on the container as long as the container has a width and a height. Okay. So although this container doesn't have any content, but it has a width and height, so we can use drop shadow. But I don't want to use drop shadow because there might be scenarios where you want to use the glow effect on the container and not the content. So assuming it's a div that has a content, you don't want to use drop shadow because the drop shadow will not act on the content. Okay, so instead we will use box shadow. Now box shadow acts similarly just like drop shadow, but box shadow has 5 variables as against 4 for drop shadow. So let me show what I'm talking about. Okay, so just like it is for drop shadow, so we have the X value here, which is the deviation from the left, the Y value, the deviation from the top, and a blur with the color. Okay, so you can see 10 pixels from the left, 10 pixels from the top, with a 5 pixels blur and a green color. Now, but there's also another variable that we can add here, which is called spread. And spread, you can see spread like scale. Okay, basically what the spread value determines, it determines the scale of the shadow. By default, spread is 1 pixels, but you can put in any value you want to put. So for example, if we put in 5 pixels here, sorry, space it. So you notice that the shadow gets bigger. Let's put in 50 pixels spread, it gets bigger than even its container. Okay, so that's what spread does basically. But for these, what we want to do, we'll not be using spread. We'll not be using spread. So yeah, the same thing, the same way that we did the glow effect with drop shadow is how we do with box shadow. We just superimpose multiple box shadows on top of each other, and then we determine their range using the blur value. Okay, so 0 0 0, let's say this is 10 pixels. Now let's copy these guys. And also for box shadow, you must specify the color. Drop shadow, you don't need to specify the color, but for box shadow, you must specify the color. So let's use aquamarine. All right, 1 2 3 4. And again, for box shadow, when you want to put multiple box shadows, you separate them using commas. Okay, use comma to separate them. All right, so let's say 10 pixels, 20 pixels, 30 and 40. Yeah, we have these nice wonderful glow, and of course we can make it have animation. Yeah, so we tie it to the over. Okay, so when you over on it, it has this animation kind of feel. Yeah, so that's just the basic way of adding glow using box shadow and drop shadow. Now If you notice that this glow is quite intense, if you want to reduce the intensity of the glow or you want to increase the range of the glow, what you just have to do is just to play around with these blur values here. Okay, so let's say for example, if we choose to want to space out this blur, let's say instead of give them 10 pixels gap, let's give them 50 pixels gap, for example. This will be 60 pixels. This will be 110 pixels, and this will be 160 pixels, for example. And so when you hover, you see the glow is no longer very intense and the radius is larger right now. You understand? So just play around with the blur values and you'll be able to create nice glow effects. Okay, so yeah, I hope this video was helpful to you and you'll be able to find an opportunity to apply this trick to your code. Thank you for sticking to the end of this video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on your notifications for more. Also, if you have any confusions, you can drop comments in the comment section. I will respond to them when I see them. Also, if you have any tricks that you want me to cover, you can let me know in the comment section and I will cover those tricks in the upcoming sessions. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful coding experience.